bulldozer. He calls himself a bulldozer. I said, why do you call yourself? He said, everybody calls me a bulldozer because I love working. And it was true. He could do work like, as if I had 5 workers in the garden. And then Murad sat and told me about how difficult it is for him to go and work in Israel. It's true that I live in Ramallah, but I never realized what it means to be a young man in the 20s to find a job in Palestine. So he told me so many stories. The only way I could understand what Murad and the Palestinian workers were going through was to be a worker myself. So without telling anybody in my family, not my husband or anybody, I decided to accompany these workers. And the only way to do it is really to sort of tie my hair up and take the hat and cover, put my hair under a hat and pretend to be a Palestinian worker and wear trousers and go along with them. I want to tell you that the trip for me started at 10 o'clock at night. We have to walk in the valleys and in the mountains at night before sunset. We have to cross that wall, either climb it or find parts of it which are barbed wires, and they make a slit in it and they make a hole, and we have to run through it. Walking with these Palestinians 35 kilometers, which should take us 25 minutes by car, took us 18 hours. We started from a village with 24 workers, and when we got to Tahtikva, which is also called Mlabbes in Arabic, because it was an Arab village that the Israelis destroyed and built Tahtikva on it, it took us 18 hours. We started 24 of this village. We ended up only 4 of us arriving there. The rest, 20 workers, were shot at, imprisoned, arrested, and the book tells the story of running back and coming forth, some people being arrested, some people being shot at, and I happen to be accompanying Murad, not because I am very clever, but Murad is like a fox. He has an antenna for danger. So whenever I just was walking next to Murad, and eventually we made it to the other side. Of course, when I tell you the story, it sounds very dramatic, but there are hilarious moments on this book, because I was working with hundreds of workers from all over the West Bank, not only our 24, and many of them, saw me. They thought that I was like a reporter from Al Jazeera. So everybody would come and say, Suad, you want to hear my story? I am in love with a woman on the other side. Do you want to see her picture? And I said, yes, I would love to see her picture. And then they would show me a picture of a woman that I couldn't figure out. She looked like dark like myself, but with very, very blonde hair. So I asked Murad what nationality she is. He says Moroccan, and his friend Saad was very handsome, by the way. I kept looking at him every time. And I sort of looked at Saad, and I was sure the woman was in love with Saad. I didn't want to tell Murad, but so there were a lot of stories going on. There were, workers. I was asking Abu Yusuf, how can you take it to work in Israel? And he told me, Suad, don't theorize on me. You have a job in Ramallah. If I don't work in Israel, my 5 children will die. I will have to do it. So I said, I'm sorry, Abu Yusuf, but how does it feel to work for an Israeli? Because most of our workers work in the construction sites. So he looked at me. He said, Doctora, you want to know how it feels? I said, yes. He said, listen. When a day like today, I am really in a bad mood and I am mixing the concrete, I say, all occupations in this world ended. And I in South Africa, in Vietnam, everywhere. And I am sure the occupation of Palestine will end, and these settlements will eventually become back to the Palestinians, and we have a very nice scenario, and all the Palestinian refugees will be settling in these buildings that we are building now for the Israelis. And then I feel good, and then I start adding more cement in the mixture. But if I am in a bad mood, I would say, God damn it, this Israeli occupation will never end. And these houses will never come back to us. You know what, Abu Yusuf? Take off a little bit of cement. And so it goes. Really, it was so wonderful just to accompany. So this book is divided into two parts with the wall in the middle. What I mean, the first part describes how I joined the workers, and then the middle part describes the difficulty of crossing that wall and how scary it was to cross that wall. And that chapter is actually, I see the wall from an animal's point of view. Because we human beings are egocentric. We only think that the wall affects us. But I started thinking, because really I love animals, started thinking, what would a gazelle feel like when they're running and hitting this wall? What would a turtle feel when it hits this wall? So there is one chapter of the wall seen from the animal's point of view. And it's like a dream-like. It was so horrifying for me to see the wall. And then the second part is after we cross the wall, and then we are in Israel. And there is a very hilarious scene that I would like you to read. When we cross on the other side, I started looking at the four workers with me, and all of a sudden I see that they were changing their clothes. Each one of them had a bag like mine, and then they started taking off t-shirts, and all of a sudden they started wearing things to make themselves look Israelis. You know, somebody will put his, just his collar up. Another one would just go with his, with his trousers up like this. And all of them were wearing eyeglasses, you know. All of the Palestinians, whenever they want to look Israelis, they look so ridiculous by wearing eyeglasses. So there is a whole chapter here of how to look like an Israeli, and how the Palestinians, all these workers, and actually by the time they changed their clothes, all of them looked Israeli except me. So I was afraid I would be the only one to be caught up. Anyway, I will not spoil it for you. I will stop here and tell you thank you very much for listening.